If you've been playing the Madden NFL series for years, there's probably a number of things that you've asked yourself, why aren't these things in the Madden games? I mean, we see them in real life, in real football every Sunday or Monday. Why aren't they in Madden? It just makes sense that if the game is representing real life, then pretty much everything about real life football should exist inside of Madden. Now, while there are certain things that EA just simply hasn't put in the game yet for whatever reason, there are also a number of things that the NFL simply will not allow to be in the game, even though these things are present in real life, which is kind of funny. Now, I've talked to people over the years, and every time they ask why certain things aren't in the game, a lot of people are surprised to know that the NFL has full control over what goes into Madden. A lot of people just assume that the NFL is simply a partner. They get paid by EA, and then EA is free to kind of just do whatever they want with the Madden game, but it's actually the opposite. The NFL is extremely hands-on with the game, and I also think that's one of the main reasons why they only want to have one game on the market, because not only do they get paid a lot for that exclusivity, but they also have one game that they have to oversee and control. And with the NFL, they're very picky about a lot of things, so if they had to oversee multiple games, that would be a much bigger task for them. Now, the NFL is known for being a very picky league, and they care a lot about how their image is represented. And I know some people will say, well, Madden has gotten some bad reviews for a while now, or people have grown tired of it, and they don't seem to mind that. Not really so much in that way. I mean, for the NFL, they just see that the game sells a lot every year, it makes a lot of money, and they're pretty happy with that overall. But what I mean is certain just little aspects about how the league is represented, they don't want that represented in a video game if they can control it. In the real NFL, there's certain things that they just can't control, and they just have to happen because it's the nature of real life. But with the game, they can take some stuff and say, hey, we don't really like this for our brand, so you can't put this in the game, even though a lot of them are very silly. So let's start with number one, and this is going to be kind of a broad thing, but this is going to be equipment. Now, equipment is a really big deal in the NFL, more so as years have gone on. We see a lot of new equipment come into the play. We see new age players like to express themselves on the field more so than we saw maybe back in the day. So when we watch a game on Sunday or Monday, we're seeing players with all kind of crazy stuff, yet when we go to play Madden, only some of that stuff exists in the game. But a big reason because of that is the NFL does not allow some of this stuff in the game because it violates their uniform policy. Even though players break it all the time in real life, they simply get fined. The NFL doesn't care if a player breaks this in real life because they're just going to make money off of them. And for these players, they make so much money that they're fine eating a $10,000 fine here or there. It's not a big deal to them. But when it comes to the Madden game, if they don't want it represented that way in the game, the NFL could say, no, you can't put this in the game. For example, let's talk about pants above the knee. This is a big complaint that Madden has gotten for years now. Why do players not have pants above their knees? Why is there no option for that? Sure, back in the day, most players did wear pants that went below the knee, but we've seen over the years that most players have transitioned away from this, and most of the players in the league now wear pants that are above the knee. But yet Madden has never had this option in the game. Well, that's because the NFL doesn't allow it. It technically breaks the NFL uniform policy, and even though most of the league does it, the NFL still doesn't like it. Thus, they will not allow EA to put it in the game. And if you want further proof of this, you could just look at their college football game. With college football, there's a lot less rules. They don't have the NFL on their back, and the NFL is, the most strict league in all of sports. And you could see in the college football game, you have the option to wear pants above the knee or below the knee. So it already exists, and both games are very similar. If the NFL okayed this, they could simply drag this right over to Madden and it would be ready to go tomorrow because they've already coded it and it already works with their other football game, but the NFL just simply will not allow it. But it doesn't just stop there with equipment. Certain types of visors can't be used in the game because they can't be used in real life. There's a lot of visor restrictions because they need to be able to see the player's eyes, and because of that, it kind of limits what EA can do creatively inside of Madden. Things like custom colors for cleats and equipment are another thing that their hands are kind of tied on because yes, in real life, sometimes players will wear some crazy color cleats, but it technically does violate the uniform policy. And there's even been some instances where even mid-game, players have been kind of forced to change the color of their cleats and things like that because the NFL wasn't happy about it. So we can't get that kind of creativity in the game because the NFL doesn't like how it looks. Now, I do think when it comes to stuff like equipment over time, I think the NFL might open up more to this because they have slowly been coming around to certain things. Like now teams can have multiple different helmets that they wear throughout the year, whereas before they could only have kind of the one main helmet and there would be the one secondary helmet, which was a new thing not that long ago. Now we have teams that even have 3 helmets and stuff like that. So they are kind of starting to come around on some things. They're starting to loosen some stuff up. So I think in the future, in terms of equipment in Madden, we could start seeing some more stuff being allowed. But for now, a lot of equipment related things are not in the game because the NFL simply doesn't allow it. Now we're going to continue on with some other things that the NFL will not allow in Madden, but really quickly, here's a word from today's video sponsor, Underdog. If you like sports and you like winning money, then you've got to be on Underdog playing their pick'em game. All you do is pick higher or lower on player stats, and if they hit, you can win some big money. And when you use my code RAY, R-A-Y, they give you a free play and some free money to play with. So for example, if you want to sign up and play for the NFL this weekend, they're going to give you Bo Nix to get a single yard. That means all he has to do is get 1 yard, and that's it. And no matter when you sign up, there will always be a free play just like this for you to take advantage of. And when you play your first $5 with my code RAY, they're going to give you $1,000 in bonus funds instantly, and you just can't beat that. Let's move on to the second thing the NFL won't allow in Madden, and this is going to be as it pertains to injuries or violence. Now, in real life, we know injuries happen all the time. It seems like they're happening more than ever, and those still do happen in Madden, but the NFL does control to the extent that some of this stuff happens in the game, because while we can't avoid it in real life and it's unfortunate, you can definitely control the extent that this stuff happens inside of a Madden game. And one big example of this is concussions. Back in older Madden games, concussions were a thing in the game, but as time has passed over many years and we've learned just how bad concussions are long term, the NFL has tried their hardest to distance themselves from that conversation and the liability of concussions, and now we even have things like concussion protocol, and before, players would just be playing through these concussions, whereas now sometimes they're missing multiple weeks because of this, because we know how serious the injury is now. So now that is not even allowed to happen inside of Madden because, hey, it's a virtual world. Why have concussions there if we don't need them there? But even just other things injury related, right? When you see players get injured in Madden, you see little maybe cutscenes of a guy walking off the field a little hobbled, but you don't see anything too crazy. You're not seeing injuries that are that serious too often. You're not seeing focus being put on injuries like players in the injury tent and things like that, whereas you see that more in real life because, again, it's the worst part of the game, and if the NFL doesn't want it really depicted too much in Madden, they can say we don't want it in there. And this even also plays into some of the violent hits. Yes, you still have the hit stick, which honestly I'm surprised the NFL still allows that at this point, but certain aspects of it have definitely been nerfed over the years. One big thing I'm always asked is, why can't we have helmets popping off of players' heads anymore? That was a really fun thing in old games because it wouldn't happen all the time, but when it did happen, you really felt like you made a big impact. You made a very clean hit stick and you got that cool animation where the helmet went flying. Well, the NFL made them take that out a long time ago. I think before we even moved to the Xbox 360 and PS3 generation, I believe. I don't think this has been a thing since PS2, but I'd have to double check. But it's been many years because the NFL does not want Madden to look more violent than it has to. Moving on to the third thing that the NFL simply won't allow in Madden is something else that people have asked about for years, and it's actually something that did exist for a short time in an older Madden, and that's empty stadiums. Now, we see this in other games like 2K and MLB The Show, where stadiums aren't always full. And you even see this to some extent in the college football game that EA also makes, especially if you're like a smaller school and you're not that good in Dynasty. You'll see that your stadium isn't always packed, but as you get better, the stadium gets more full. So again, EA already has this coded into their other football game. So if they were allowed to put this into Madden, it would just simply be there. Why would it be in the college game, but not in Madden? Now, in Madden 11, EA Sports did have a dynamic attendance feature that would take into account things like the time of year, the weather, the records of the teams, in order to kind of figure out how full the stadium should be any week. Basically the same thing that real life fans would be going through, right? If you were a fan of the Jets and you only had one win and it's week 14 and it's snowing, you probably would think twice before going to that game, and the same thing should apply to Madden. Well, owners apparently did not like this feature when it was in Madden because these guys have egos and too much pride, and they're like, hey, why is my stadium only half full in Madden? That's not true. Our stadium is full every week, even if it's actually not. So if the owners complain, that means the NFL complains to EA, and then thus the feature was forced to be removed after a short stint inside of the Madden game, and we haven't seen it return since because the NFL is simply just not going to allow it to happen. They want every stadium full. They want their league represented a certain way inside the game, even if real life is not that exact way, which is pretty silly in my opinion, but people ask this question all the time. So for those that don't know, now you know. Now, we recently just got some new cool stuff added to Madden 26, and if you want to find out what all those things are, make sure to check out this video right here on the screen.